stands for?
I didn't know it stood for anything.
It's
so
it's sort of short for something, right? You ready for this?
Okay.
Hey, I didn't know. Allen Michael Sugar Trading.
Okay.
Amstrad.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. Amstrad was founded in 1968 by the legendary, even we know who Allen Sugar is.
That's right.
At the age of 21, by
Wow.
the way. So he was rocking and rolling way early on. The Amstrad itself was released in 1984, so about 34 years ago. And it sold, and of course, as with these numbers, I got to take it for what I read. But the figure that seemed to be the most set upon was around 3 million Amstrads. And I don't know how that counts clones or other variants or any of that stuff.
Continental models,
yeah,
things
you never
like that.
know. Now, we were talking a couple weeks ago, actually, it might have been last week when we did ZX Spectrum stuff, about the ZX Spectrum having a disk drive. We weren't sure and what size the disk was. This thing had a wacky disk drive eventually that was a 3-inch floppy disk. Now, so I guess that's not a 3.5-inch. That's a special 3-inch floppy, which I've never seen one of those discs.
I do know that I think this was one of the machines that actually, one of the early models came with the tape drive built in right there beside
that's right,
it.
Right. So this thing had a Z80 processor. It was a Z80A running at 4 megahertz, I believe. When we looked at the ZX last week, it was running, what, 3.5 or 3.7 megahertz.
Slightly slower.
And this thing came with 64 or 128 kilobytes of memory, expandable to 576. Now, I read about different models. I read one that had they shipped with 72K of memory, which that's a weird number.
Yeah.
I never heard of one. It's stuck in my head. Amstrad founder Allen Sugar said that he wanted, when he put this thing out, he wanted something that resembled a real computer. This is a quote. Similar to what someone would see being used to check them in at an airport for their holidays.
Well,
and the machine, he didn't want the machine to look like, this is a quote, a pregnant calculator. Now, what do you think he was talking about when he made that little comment?
Is the pregnant calculator?
The ZX Spectrum.
Is that
That's what he was talking about.
Okay. I was trying to think about where he was going with that, but I think that he totally achieved his dream, because the way that the CPC has the color-coded keyboard and stuff, it looks very similar to something that you see in a retail environment.
It's long but cool looking.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's pretty neat. I'm having only seen them in pictures. I'm not actually filled a keyboard or anything.
Right.
I'd like to get an Amstrad one of these days.
Oh, I'd love to have one.
The Amstrad sold initially for 199 pounds. That's with a green monitor, the old monochrome, and then 299 pounds with the color. Okay, so,
and this is the infamous monitor that is only for the Amstrad, right?
Right. Now, to bring it forward, and for those of us that aren't in the UK or in Europe, that means the monochrome version was $280, and the color was $419. And by today's money, the monochrome would have been $671, and the color would have been over $1,000, just over $1,000. And in that era, that's probably about what was going.
A color, yeah, I know a color monitor for something like the Apple II was a pricey deal, also.
On April 7th of '86, Amstrad announced it had bought the computer we used last week, which was they had bought the Sinclair Research ZX Spectrum. And get this, what do you think they paid for this thing? And this was, again, this was '86.
I'm going to say not much, like pittance.
Well, they paid £5 million, around about.
Okay.
Right? They got all the intellectual property, all the stock. They sold off just the stock of computers that was in warehouses for more than they paid for the whole company.
That's a good deal right there.
Yeah, so I again, not knowing a ton about those guys, I have a feeling Sugar was a pretty bright businessman.
Well, yeah, and Sinclair was in dire financial straits by that time because of the C5 and all that stuff.
That is crazy little car.
Little car, yeah.
I will say, I would pay top dollar to have one of those little cars just to drive around.
I'd love to see you motor around Hurricane in that thing.
You think that I would get in there and go?
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
You think it's got enough jack to get me around town?
Absolutely.
I love it. So, with that all in mind, slight introduction to the Amstrad. We picked 2 games literally at random, I believe. I don't know if you had any prior knowledge of what you were picking. And stupidly, I picked mine without actually knowing what it was, but I should have known, which I'll get into that later. So I'm going to let you, Boat, kick off the episode with your game. What are we playing this week on the boat side of things?
This is Spin Dizzy.
Is that... So,
that's how I picture.
Is that the way you? Yeah, I have to say it like a dork.
That's how I picture Paul Shirley, the designer of this game. When he pitched it, he's like, "Guys, it's Spin Dizzy."
Man, whatever value Spin Dizzy had has just hit the floor right there. Go ahead.
So Spin Dizzy was released in '86, the same year that Amstrad bought Sinclair, I guess, for the CPC, the Apple II series, the Atari 8-bit, the C64, and some weird ones. There's the Enterprise 128, the Thompson M06, and
that sounds like guns.
The slightly more advanced Thompson TO7/70.
I've never heard of any of those.
So I think these are French computers. I had a quick look around on Wikipedia, and I think that was what they were.
Were you able to find out which one came first?
I think the M06, because it's listed before and it's got a 6.
M06, well, of course, it's a port from the M06.
Right. And of course, the ZX Spectrum got a port of Spin Dizzy too. This was published by a company called Electric Dreams, which is
bad movie, good name.
Is it a movie, Electric Dreams?
I think there was a movie called Electric Dreams, and I remember thinking that wasn't very good.
Okay. Well, this was an offshoot of another company called Quicksilver.
Ooh,
like Dreamcatcher.
Those are both good names.
Yeah. They produced games primarily for the UK 8-bit computer lines from around 85 to 89, so towards the tail end of the 8-bit era. They released, I just picked 2 titles at random, not really at random, I picked 2 titles out from their list. They released a port of the license for Big Trouble in Little China.
Really?
So I was not aware that movie got any kind of game releases.
So that had a game?
Yeah, there was a game.
Did you ever see that film?
Yes.
That's a good flick.
I do like it a lot.
It's all in the reflexes.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
Yeah. And then they also produced a game called Dandy, which, being the Southern dandy myself, I appreciated that.
You might want to talk to a lawyer.
Spin Dizzy was designed by a guy named Paul Shirley, and he took a lot of his inspiration from the games from Ultimate Play the Game, which later became Rare. Those isometric titles like Batman and Head Over Heels and things like that. This is a... it didn't, in the documentation I was reading, it didn't say that he was influenced by Marble Madness, but it would be hard to look at this game and say that he wasn't, at least in part.
That was the first thing I thought of when I fired it up, I'd say.
So this is much like Marble Madness. It's a dexterity-based isometric perspective game where you have you're manipulating your little character around a board, and there's physics. The difference between this and Marble Madness is this game has a lot more focus on exploration rather than just trying to get from the beginning of a level to the end of the level.
Yeah, because there is no exploration in Marble Madness. I mean, effectively.
I mean, you can kind of go around a little bit,
and you lose because you run out of time.
That's right. Well, in this game, you also lose because you run out of time. So, in this game, they wanted to personify your little spinning top thing, and so they named him. They named him Gerald.
His name's not Dizzy?
His name is Gerald, and don't you forget it. Gerald stands for
gyroscopic.
Gyroscopic?
Gyroscopic? Is that because he's a dude?
Maybe it's Greek. Maybe it's Euroscopic.
Just keep going.
Exploration landing device. So that's gyroscopic, and then Explo, and then it's like the RA is where the A, man, that's a real stretched metaphor, anagram there. Anyway,
it's hard even to describe.
I know. But anyway, you're Gerald. You're trying to explore all 385 screens of this place. Do you know what the place is called?
Wow, there's that many screens, eh? I don't know. I have no idea.
Hang World.
Hang World.
Get crazy in Hang World with Spin Dizzy coming soon. That's the boilerplate, right?
Yeah, of course.
So so because this game is viewed isometrically, the controls are Qbert style, 90-degree controls, which just add to the fun.
Yeah.
And so basically you're trying to navigate your way through these stages or these screens, which have various puzzles in them, and you're limited by a timer, which is like your energy, I guess. And And whenever you fall off ledges, you lose your time, and there's limited time to start with. Now I'll tell you right off the bat, when I loaded this game up on the emulator, it was an Italian version, and it was like
mine was too.
It was like Tempo Invincibilia, and I was like, yes. I knew.
How did you play this? Did you on the computer or on the Xbox?
So I did. I played this on the computer. I played it both in browser and one of those JavaScript-based emulators, and then I actually
was it all in Italian every time?
Yes, and then I downloaded a standalone Amstrad emulator called WinApe.
Okay.
And it's a big picture of Donkey Kong on the front of it.
Really?
Yeah, and I played it on that. I tried to play this on the Xbox, but either I'm an idiot, which is entirely possible, or Amstrad on-screen keyboard support is broken.
Nope, it works, because I played it on there.
Okay, I could not get it to register any key presses.
What you have to do to get past that opening screen is hit F1. You know how I figured that out? I hit every key.
You hit every key? Okay. Because I hammered on that S for C, you know, go. And
yeah.
So anyway, you go through these levels, and there's these crystals that you collect. And so when you collect crystals, you get more energy. It adds more time to your. So you're basically trying to go through, negotiate all these screens, and collect crystals so you can move on. There are puzzles to solve. If you hover over certain squares, it causes ledges to go up and down, which lets you explore other places.
They remind me of like pressure points.
Yeah,
you know, like those pressure sensors and floors. You know.
Right. And so it's basically an exercise, and it kind of has a little bit of a Crystal Castles vibe because of that 3D.
It does. It's sort of. Yeah.
It's also got that hard to control vibe, just like Crystal Castles. Because it was really a bear for me to I think that if I was able to figure out a way to get joystick control, it would have been easier than playing with the keys. Did you find that when you were playing on the Xbox?
Here, let me. I played this quite a bit because I was just trying to grasp what the hell it was, you know, and because literally, of course, I've no documentation. I'm just like, I'm gonna go for it. I'm a dumb guy, and right away I was like, once I ascertained that you could go off the screen, because at first I thought it was like a one-screen puzzle game. Then then you can go off the screen. There's a path. Right away I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And the graphics in this are great. They're great. Again, it makes one wonder, and I guess this got used a lot more on your UK computers, because we didn't get a whole ton of isometric stuff over here.
No.
That view is solid. I mean, it looks nice. I mean, you could really do something with it, just like Marble Madness, and they did. This game struck me as a difficult game. I got into it. You're going through and you collect those gems. It's got the rolling counters that tell you how many gems you've got and what screen you're on. And so it felt huge. You said this had how many
385 screens.
Which that's amazing. And I knew it had triple digits, but I never would have guessed it had that many.
Yeah.
But one thing I really dug on it, there was a lot of stuff to like. Now, controlling this Gerald is no easy task. In fact, I'm not going to sit here and say, man, I had him down perfect. I could get him places, but I mean, there are some ledges and stuff that are just tough to negotiate.
Yeah. Now, did you know about the emergency brake?
No, I didn't know about that.
Okay, so when you press space, you come to a dead stop.
Oh, no kidding.
And that makes the game immeasurably easier.
Wow, I didn't know that. Well, one thing I thought was really cool. You know what this game reminded me of? Remember that paper airplane game we put on the Macintosh?
Yeah, Glider.
Nothing like that, but it was a game that just came out of nowhere, and you think, what's this thing going to put out? And it is something so original and different. I like the fact that there was momentum, and the momentum was awesome. I mean, it worked. It was a lot like Marble Madness. I remember going off a screen, and I would just be on the other screen for a split second, then I would go back to the first screen. I'm like, what's going on? Well, it's because I needed to get up, spinning faster to get up that hill. And it was when you went to the next screen, it was up a hill, and it was sort of teaching you, this is how you do this. And that really added a lot to the game. There are platforms, like you said, that move up and down, and you have to get on them. And staying in one spot when that thing goes up in the air, no easy feat. I could have used that space bar big time because it was really tough. And I could tell as I got, I don't know how far into the game you got, but as you get further into it, I mean, you come to these areas that have like a million different little puzzly squares.
Right.
And I thought, holy smokes.
It gets very complex.
This looks really tough.
At least to my simple mind. It became very
I thought, I'm going to map this thing or something to figure this out.
Well, you know, the game does have a built-in map
Really?
If you press the M key.
This is the problem with playing with a non-keyboard.
Right.
But unfortunately, I didn't have another way to play this. But I mean, actually playing with the Xbox stick, it worked well for the most part. I was real impressed. You know, we've talked about this a couple times when we did Last Ninja 2, for example. I like games of this era that make you feel like this is like and this is a very broad comparison, but it's like a Grand Theft Auto where you feel like you've got an infinite space to move around.
Right.
And when you've played games so often that are confined to one screen, you know, or have a set path, when you can just kind of go out and do what you want, it's very gratifying to play a game like that. And this game, I got that kind of fun feeling. It looked good. It was super. It was. I'm not gonna say it's 100% original, but it was pretty original, and it played well. I mean, I was really impressed. This one, I couldn't believe how interesting it was. I'm not good at it. If I ever get an Amstrad, this is gonna be the #1 game I put on there because I would like to be able to use the keyboard and have all the stuff that I didn't know about. I'd probably have a better experience. But as it was, just from touring around with it this week, I really thought it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like this game a lot. This game actually was popular enough that it received a sequel.
Really?
Yeah, it was called Spin Dizzy Worlds, and it came out a couple years later, 4 years later, for the Amiga.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, the Amiga, the Atari ST, the Super Nintendo, the Sharp X68000, and the NEC PC.
Put it on the list, Boat.
Yeah, yeah, and it's much like this game. It's got better graphics. There's much more colorful, and it actually has 2 different galaxies of worlds. So I guess there's 2 different sets of millions and millions of screens to explore. The game was very highly reviewed. Spin Dizzy Worlds was. In fact, it was ranked the 13th best Amiga game of all time.
Wow!
By Amiga
How have I
Power
not heard
magazine.
of this game?
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
You know, one thing about Spin Dizzy that was missing, and I understand why it was missing, but was some nice music would have been nice. Now, and when I first started playing it, I didn't think it had any sound, but eventually you realize that the sound sort of is a part of the game. You actually, things are moving.
It's kind of like Gods in that way.
Well, yeah, you could hear things falling and stuff,
Yeah.
but still, a game like this, you know, again, not to continuously compare it to Marble Madness, but Marble Madness had that really awesome music.
Right.
Do, 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 do,
Oh,
do,
yeah.
do, do.
I love
And this
it.
is what I thought, man, if we could get some awesome music in this thing, we'd be laughing.
Yeah, this game reviewed very well, the original Spin Dizzy. I've got an amalgamation of reviews from all across the 8-bit computer scene. Amtix, the official magazine of the Amstrad CPC, rated this 98 out of 100.
Amtix?
Amtix.
That stinks.
Well, you could
Is
have
that
also...
like antic, but...
Yes, it's probably exactly like that. ASM, which stands for Actuler Software Market, reviewed this for the Amstrad 9 out of 10. And all the Commodore magazines, it's either 90s or 9s or 8s out of 10. So very well reviewed. I looked this game up on eBay. You can get this game for nothing all day long.
Really?
It's cassette.
Yeah.
Cassette version under $10 shipped.
Did they release a 3-inch disc version of this that you saw?
I didn't see one, but I don't.
I wonder how widespread those discs were. I know from our friends that are from the UK and overseas, they often tell us that no one had discs for anything. So I'm guessing there weren't too many people that had the Amstrad floppy drive. I'm sure someone will tell us about that. But
I imagine by the time that thing appeared, people that had the money to afford it might have been saving it for a 16-bit machine.
yeah, you might be right.
Yeah. Well, that's all I've got on Spin Dizzy, so why don't we move right along to your game of the week, Aaron?
Okay, I took a look at a game called Gryzor.
Gryzor.
Ooh, sounds like a cool name, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm dumb. We looked at a game called Contra. Oh gosh, how many? It's not even been 2 months on the Amigos. And I distinctly remember after I sat home, I loaded this up. I'm like, gonna play me some Gryzor. Because last week I played that Death Chase. I'm like, I never heard of that. I never heard of this. This is going to be a true winner.
Right.
I was like, wait a minute. This looks like a clone of Contra. And then I was like, bing,
Lo
son of
and
a gun.
behold.
I remember saying that there was a game called Gryzor and it was a clone of Contra. Dumb. So we're playing Contra again.
Yeah, we are.
So, but, you know, that's okay. Because I'm not here to bury Gryzor. I'm here to praise Gryzor.
Okay.
So Gryzor, which is Contra in Europe. All right,
Right.
And which makes sense, although the name is stupid. I mean, it's a good name, but not for this. But I guess they're not going to call it Contra because no one knows what's going on with the Contras. That's an American joint, you know, sort of. So, but Gryzor is what they called it in Europe. So you've got again, it was released in 1987, published by Ocean Software, and this was programmed by a fellow named John Brandwood. Now, this guy actually did some stuff I've heard of on the Amstrad. I've actually heard, and most of it just from here, listening to the podcasts or reading stuff. He did a game called Renegade, which I heard quite a bit about, and I've heard it was good. I think it may have been.
That's kind of a pre-Double Dragon beat 'em up, right?
I think who I heard talk about this was Swaney over on Retro Asylum, because they do delve into the Amstrad stuff a lot more than we would, but I think he likes it. But this fellow also did that, and this actually has some things in common with Renegade, like a menu setup, so very almost identical. So I'm guessing Brandwood here just basically took that gimmick and just stuck it over on the next game. I think they came out the same year too, so it's easy peasy. So this is now, unlike some Contras that we've played, this one only has one player at a time. There's no two-player action. There's two players. It's hot seat. There's not two-player on the screen at the same time. Now,
wouldn't that make it hot seat? Isn't hot seat when you alternate?
That's what this does have.
This is hot seat.
Yeah, that's what I said. So, what is Contra for the people that have lived in a box? Contra is an arcade game that was released by Konami. You play one of two soldiers who they always seem to have different names, and I'll get to that in a minute. But you're going to basically it's a game where you run and try to kill everything you see. And you have different guns. It's pretty generic, but I mean, at the time, this was sort of like one of the first games that really brought this sort of play type around,
right?
And did it with a flourish, right? I'm sure there were other games that did something similar. So this is the home port of that game. And just for the record, it was released in the arcade in '87, so this came over pretty quick. And from there. Now, there's apparently a disc version and a cassette version. And honestly, I don't know which one I actually looked at. It just loaded up. I think it was the disc version, but I can't be 100% sure about that. And
I don't know if disc versions of games necessarily meant more features. It might
I have no idea. Yeah.
Probably just faster loading time.
So one thing I learned is that this, of course, when you play this game, you have sound effects but no music. If you have a Amstrad with 128K, all right, I guess one of the more robust ones, if you hit the escape key, you can actually get music.
Oh, okay.
So just a little heads up there if that's your bag. So we know what the arcade version of this was. So what's different about Gryzor? Well, the first thing you notice right away is the scrolling of this. In the arcade, you've got a proper scrolling game that there's no hesitation. Okay, this one was more. This is somewhere between that and Super Cobra on the Odyssey 2, if you'll recall that. This game it goes screen by screen, but it doesn't just flash. It's a
more natural scroll.
It is,
but there is a pause in the action as things move.
You would think that this would be a killer for this game, and I didn't mind it a bit. I mean, I noticed it, but I didn't really mind it.
There were other things about the game that made it less than ideal. The scrolling was not one of them.
Well, we may have a difference of opinion on that. So you play Bill or Lance.
Man.
Okay. In fact, there they are. Bill or Lance. Those are as manly a names as we've got.
That's right.
And Bill or Lance are here.
Have you ever known a Lance in real life?
I have. There was a guy who used to play football in our middle school named Lance. And he was a real jerk. But he was one heck of a good runner. And he would routinely make you miss. But, of course, when you're good at football, sometimes you're also a jerk. And this is one of those guys. I hope he's not listening. He may come and humiliate me again.
Well, I've actually brought him on the show. Come on in, Lance.
Hey, yeah, I've got more to bone to pick with him anyway, so bring him on down. So, the Amstrad version, this is actually, I got to say, it was a pretty, I thought it was a really good port, actually. There are things you have to understand when you start playing. And I will say, this took It took at least one full play session just for me to sort of understand the controls, because that is the hardest part of the game, is the controls. This game had multiple buttons in the arcade. The Amstrad has the one button, and we all know how that goes from doing stuff on the Amiga. So in this and in the game, you can shoot up, you can shoot diagonally, right, which is a difficult task with a stick. So what you've got to do in the game is you hold the button down and move in directions, and that will get your shooting going. And if you pull down or push up, he'll jump, right, or go down a level. I can't tell you how many times I died on the very first screen because I would try to duck and I would pull down and go into the water. Mm-hmm. Well, once you're in the water, you can't jump unless you run to a grassy platform, and then you can jump off of that. So the game, it does not lend itself to learning. Just put it that way. It was no easy task just to figure out the controls. That said, once I figured them out, I thought it worked pretty well, and I got the hang of it. Now, would it have been better with multiple buttons? Absolutely. Absolutely it would have been. And really, the controls are sort of the Achilles heel of the game, in my opinion. No matter how good you get with them, I don't think they're that natural feeling. Mm-hmm. What did you think of the controls?
Well, this game is 100% control. I mean, this is a one-hit kill game. Contra is a one-hit kill experience.
Yes, it is.
And so there's no room for error. So unless you feel super comfortable with the controls, no matter what they are, you're not going to live very long. And I never got, one of the key things to be able to do in this game is the ability to shoot diagonally.
Yes.
And I know that it's possible. I was never able to do it consistently. I was never able, and again, a big part of it was having to play with the keyboard.
You were playing this with the keyboard as well. With the stick, diagonal wasn't that bad. Mm-hmm. I got into a rhythm. You know what I played this like? And again, I'm skipping over shows. I'm breaking the third wall, but I had to play this a little bit like I played Soccer Kid. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason I say that. There's some similarities. I had to take it very slow. I had to position myself in certain areas because there's always bullets. These stationary guns are annoying as hell. And they'll come out and they'll hide sometimes. And sometimes they're just there, they pop up out of the ground. But you're always in a place where you're dodging multiple bullets on these side-scrolling parts. And so positioning is key. Learning how to duck is key. Mm-hmm. If you don't know how to duck every time, you're screwed. Right. And I can see where playing this on the keyboard could be a difficult task. Mm-hmm. But with the joystick, it's not too bad. By the way, I meant to mention this earlier, but this game, did you know this game has something resembling a plot? No. Okay, I've never heard the plot to Grisor or Contra, so this is it, according to the web. In the year 2633, right, the evil Red Falcon organization, I think we mentioned this before, have set base on the Galuga Archipelago near New Zealand in a plot to conquer the world. That's
watch out, Huckster.
That's where you're. Yeah, Gary, be careful down there. Two commandos, Bill Reiser and Lance Bean of the Contra unit. The Contra unit.
Mr. Bean's great-great-grandson.
That's right, Lance. An elite group of soldiers specializing in guerrilla warfare, which there's no guerrilla warfare in this at all, are sent to the island to destroy the enemy forces and uncover the true nature of Red Falcon, the alien entity controlling them. Now, guerrilla, this is just as far from that. It's just straightforward killing. This is not
There's no stealth involved.
This isn't like Red Dawn in any way. So, the controls, we touched on that. You get used to them. Let's talk about the way the game looks and the game and the graphics flow. They do well. Very colorful. I was surprised how nice and clear everything was. I could see everything well. The movement was fine. I didn't see any weird slowdown or anything. I managed to get, in fact, I took a picture of my score. I can't remember what it was, but I managed to get past the very first level, into the 3D part, past the first one of those, and into the second round before I got killed.
That's very impressive.
Now, it happened only a couple times. It's a difficult game. And unless you're a real stud, you're screwed. Now, I've heard people say there are multiple weapons you can get in the game. And the ones I saw were rapid fire, triple shot.
The spread, yep.
And then lasers, okay? Now, there may be other ones that I haven't seen. I'm sure there are, but I didn't. That's all the ones I saw. I have read that if you get the laser, you could go all the way through the game without any trouble.
Wow.
Now, I got the laser, and every time I got it, I was so excited that I got paranoid and then got murdered.
Yeah.
So the laser is great, but you need to be better than me to use it, because I just got I was like, man, I got the laser. I've been waiting for this, and then I would get killed.
Now, there's a question from the chat that I was wondering about too. Did you try the Konami code in this?
I did not try it. I did not try the Konami code because doesn't it require a B?
It does. It requires a second button.
So I don't know. I don't know if this thing even supports the Konami code, but I think I read that it did.
It's an alternate. You got to use key presses on the keyboard, maybe.
So, but anyway, once you get past the first level, you get into what's basically a 3D level, right? And I mean, it's rudimentary. Basically, you're on it's a still screen, and it's a third-person perspective. You got your guy, then you usually have like some kind of shield or something. You've got something mounted on the back wall, and bullets and stuff coming at you. And you've got to basically, this is where ducking is also key. You need to duck down and shoot. And if you do it right, most of the time you can get through it okay. There's a map at the top of the screen because you can sort of go where you want. You can sort of screw up if you don't pay attention. This level, it took me some time to get used to, these 3D levels, because it is different. I remember having trouble with these in the arcade. Everywhere I've played this game, these levels are the perspective is sort of like a Zaxxon-y. I don't mean it's hard to judge heights and distances and stuff for me. Maybe I'm just an idiot, but I thought it did a pretty good job. I mean, it's not the worst I've seen. In fact, I'm going to say it. I'm going to go on record. I like this more than the Amiga version we played. I really actually thought this was a darn good version. I got to tell you, I'm impressed with the Amstrad.
The game is so colorful.
It is, and it played well, and they handled it well, and the controls are good. I don't know what I was expecting, and I'm not saying this just to blow smoke all the Amstrad people, but I'm impressed with it. Consider what I used to play with. Like the Coco had a 0% chance of running this like this. It would not even have been close.
Yeah, I've got to say, I was expecting something more along the lines of the ZX Spectrum with the Amstrad, and it's clear that the Amstrad was a more powerful machine on many fronts.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. So this game has it had pretty much most of what the arcade had. It's missing a snow level that the arcade had in it. It's got a jungle level, then a base, the defense system, a waterfall, that's sort of a famous level, a second base, and then the second defensive system. Then you go to the alien fortress. Those are the stages. I didn't get anywhere near the alien fortress, but I did watch. I got some people go through it. It's pretty cool. Again, it really I didn't see anything there wasn't any major changes to the game. You didn't see anything you weren't expecting, But I mean, it's interesting. They made it diverse enough to make it, not get boring. I looked. It's funny that I found a big list of cheats for this, and they're all poke statements that you could put in.
Really? So you're just changing the programming of the game.
That's old school.
Yeah.
When you just sit there and poke it. I will say when this thing loads up on the Xbox, it just comes up with the Amstrad DOS screen, and it just types in the thing. And I was like, man, this is awesome. I just think
it is funny. You have to do the same thing on the emulator too.
I was jonesing for. I was like, man, I got to get me one of these Amstrads now. Which I've never ever thought that in my wildest dreams. I was like, I've heard people talk about the Amstrad. I'm like, Amstrad. I don't need that. And I've changed my tune, man. So the ending of this game is sort of infamous. Did you actually watch anybody go all the way through?
I'm trying to think about. This isn't the one where Hitler's at the end, is it?
No, there's no.
Okay.
Wow, what person's that?
I guess that's Bionic Commando. I get that.
So you go all the way through the game, and you fight weird snake dinosaurs and computers, and you fight all this different crap. You get to the end of the game, and you beat the end boss, and it says congratulations. You went through and you did it. At the end of it, you fight this beating heart. Right, it's a big, huge heart. Twice the size of your guy, maybe 3 times. And once you beat it, the screen comes up as a picture of the Earth that says, "Congratulations, you beat the end guy." But unfortunately, his heart going out triggered a backup bomb, and the world explodes.
Oh my gosh!
So
it's kind of a downer.
That's what's great about it. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
I had to laugh. And then they didn't have to do it, but they went ahead and just go ahead and show the world exploding, which that made me happy. Something else I noticed in this was if you go to the place where you enter your name, the first two names are who watches the Watchmen, right? And I thought, hey, I've heard that before because that's a sort of a saying, but I read that this came out right around the same time that the Watchmen graphic novel and the comics were being released, and it was real popular. So there you go. Somebody may have put that in there because of that. Maybe not. Who knows? But I thought it was kind of neat. Also, they could have been some kind of piracy thing. They were a piracy reference, and I'm assuming Amstrad had piracy just like everybody else did. What do you think about this overall? You want to summarize your side of the story on this one?
I think everything.
You seem like you hated it.
Well, I couldn't figure out how to fire diagonally, and that was a bummer.
Yeah.
You know, playing with the keyboard, it's a bummer. I think if you would have had to have played this on the keyboard, you would have had a much more negative experience as well. Because I can play like the NES version of this game, I can play with the cursor keys and the fire keys and be fine. But the way that this was set up was just not good. And however, I thought that graphically it was very impressive. Watching the playthrough now, it looks great, and the guy seems like he knows what he's doing. So obviously, the fault is mine for just not being a skilled enough player, which that's most weeks that's the case.
I'm not very skilled at this sort of game either, but having the amount of the days I got to play it, I like a game, and I will say this didn't happen with Spin Dizzy. I mean, I just sort of rolled around or spun around and just.
Gerald did around.
I just tried to see stuff, and I mean, I wasn't sure exactly what I was doing. This one, at least I had an idea what I was doing, and it's one of the fun games where I actually got better the more I played it. I can certainly see it's not the hardest game. If there was someone that was was adept at these sorts of games, I'm sure they could probably go through it and not have a huge difficult time. I can see how having a laser is a huge advantage. Another problem I had, by the way, I forgot to mention, is when you get the lasers, it's trying to avoid the other things. I would accidentally shoot one. I was like, man, I don't want to get triple shot.
Then you end up with like rapid fire or something.
I'd get killed. So yeah, but I really dug it. So critics, and here's some names for you that you probably never heard. So I looked to try to find some. This is when you look at stuff like the Amstrad and the ZX and some of the other things, you really appreciate Lemon Amiga and Hall of Light because there's so much.
They aggregate everything so well.
That's right. So these I had to skip around. So Amstrad CPC Power Play gave it an 85%. Amstrad CPC Computer and Video Games gave it a 90. The French version of the Amstrad CPC gave it an 85 as well, which could have been the same game. I like this one. Amstrad CPC Happy Computer gave it an 83.
Man, I need some of those
back issues. I know,
issues.
Man. And then Amstrad CPC Retro Game Reviews gave it an 80. So, it's in that low 80s, high 70s, up in that area there. I would probably put it, having not played the Amstrad games, I could safely say it's the best one I've ever played, without a doubt. I'll look this up if I can find where I stuck it. I looked this up on eBay, and there were plenty of copies out there. Here we go. You can get. It's funny. This game was international. I saw them in Spain, France. And they're usually going for around, but I saw in the UK you can get them for cheap, $20, $30. I saw a guy trying to get hundreds of dollars in Spain. So you're probably ballpark in all 3 or 4 different areas. You're probably looking at American dollars, $20 to $50. You could probably get one. I saw the disc going for like 10. So someone somewhere has the discs. I don't know, but your mileage may vary on what you can do with them.
Yeah.
But I liked it, man. I liked both these games actually. I was surprised.
Awesome. All right, Aaron.
Is it time?
You ready?
I'm ready, man.
All
Let's
right.
do it.
So we will take the Amstrad pie piece off the wheel, and we are going to replace it.
All right.
With a mystery pick here. Why don't we do a little bit? Get back to the console scene.
All right. What do we got here?
Mega Drive.
The Mega Drive. We have played very little Sega.
Yeah.
On the show. So I've got our envelopes of joy here, and we will spin the wheel and make the deal. Plenty of good stuff here. It's funny. We've had 2 weeks in a row of the British stuff, and I'm not gonna say I was apprehensive, but I didn't know. Hey, 2 for 2 as far as I'm concerned. I like both those. I think they were really cool.
All right.
All right, man. Spin the
here we
wheel
go.
and make the deal. Man, good spin. There's the flourish I enjoy with the hand. And what do we got here, Boat?
Hey, Mega Drive.
The Mega Drive. Now, since I'm a goofball, I put the Mega Drive into the Mega CD thing here. I knew, but I did remember. You got to give me that.
Good.
So here we go. Let me pull these out of here. Okay, Mega Drive, me and you. Here we are. So, I think it's my turn to pick first.
Okay.
I am going to pick The Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
I am going to choose Virtua Racer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's one I've not played very often. So next week we're playing Mega Drive / Genesis for you Americanos. Should be a good time.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed the show, everyone. If you would like to, or feel the need or the desire to,
You've got a burning feeling. Consult a doctor.
Yeah, that's something Patreon will not cure. But if you're feeling froggy, you want to throw a buck or two our way, please drop us a buck or two on Patreon. Bo, you want to give out the love on Patreon?
Patreon.com/Amigos podcast.
That's right. We've also got T-shirts for sale.
tpublic.com/stores/Amiga tees.
Very good, Bo. Very good.
I know all the URLs.
Any parting thoughts?
No.
Put him on the spot, and he couldn't come up with it. All right, y'all. Thanks for joining us, and until next week,
Adios. All right.
Come on, you couldn't come up with nothing, could you?
No.
You had that look on your face.
I thought you were going to ask me a different question.
Nope,
I
that's
could have
it.
come up with 16 different things.
Bam, we burned through that, didn't we?
Yeah, it was great.
Look at this. I can't get my printer at work to print on two sides. So it looks like I've got 4 million notes.
Wow.
Now you know the backstory for this game. Look at your notes compared to mine. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, that's my Amigos notes, but
we
these
had
are
mailbag.
these are my.
Oh, these are your Amigos.
This is
notes.
ARG notes. I got front and back.
We got anything on Amigos we need to talk about in earnest? Do we have any feedback?
I need to see what our next week's episode is.
Let me get my.
I've already forgotten.
It's Soccer Kid, isn't it?
Yeah, and then we'll do Hired Guns again.
Just keep doing it. Eventually, we'll get it right.
Fly to the Amazon Queen.
My mom and dad are still stuck at the mall. Poor
Oh
mom
my
and
God.
dad.
They'll just need to camp out at Chick-fil-A. You know, I took my kids to the mall this past week. It's the highlight of their year. They love it.
You took them where?
To the mall. Well, we went to Ratings and then we went to the mall afterwards. But
You see my picture I sent you? That's me smoking a cigar and eating a cookie at the Sheets in Barbersville. It's so
no,
aggravating.
I was going to say you didn't send that to me, did you?
I put it on the Discord.
Oh, okay.
I was so mad. I was like, I wasn't mad. I was just like beat down.
Yeah.
Like the road one, me nothing. 2 days in a row. My God, look at these copious amounts of handwritten notes. Hey, everybody in chat. Sorry, I'm two and a half hours late. Whoops.
Better late than never, as they say. Let's get the G+.
Look what I was watching on the way here.
Watching
Or
us.
listening to us. Well, I like to critique my performance right before I go on again and try not to suck as bad the next. It never works. It never works. You should never listen to yourself.
Change our thumbnail up here. Our guns.
The crazy chat room. I've missed you guys desperately. I know there's only probably 1 or 2 people in there due to the lateness of the hour.
Apparently there are 10 people watching us now.
Oh, good.
So.
Oh, thanks for sticking around. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we got Duncan Styles,
Of course,
Pixels at
Duncan.
Dawn,
Those 2 guys, they're like rocks.
Edvin Helen,
He's another one.
UK Retro Gamer,
God bless you.
Pishbot,
The Pish.
Henrik Anderson,
The
John
Hen.
John Marshall's here,
John Americano.
Ravi's here.
Stay off the interstates, John.
He lives out of the danger zone.
Yeah.
He's living
No, they've got a wreck in Nitro, too.
Oh, really?
It's,
Well, they've got a
trust
wreck in
me,
Nitro every day.
It's crazy time
That's-
everywhere you look.
Yeah.
Hired Guns. Bodum will let you take most of this one.
All right. This will be 5 minutes long. Hey, I'm glad you're up so late watching us, UK Retro Gamer. That's.
Where are you at, UK? That's a little joke.
You know, let me tell you, I was listening to my new favorite radio station coming home, 102.3 The Mix.
Yeah.
And they were like, we got this news in from the UK. I guess that's like England. And then the lady was like, yeah, it's like England and not Ireland. I know that. I don't know what countries are in the. We're so dumb. We're so dumb.
It's hard to remember what we got. And then you want us to start remembering these other ones? Come on, man. Give me states give me states you gotta have memorized.
Did you ever memorize all the counties?
All the counties?
Yeah, did you do
like Golden Horseshoe?
Yeah, Golden Horseshoe.
I could not memorize them all. 55 counties.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
You know who did that was my buddy Beasley. He got that. He was the biggest oaf you ever saw, and he did it. When they said we had one Golden Horseshoe, I remember it was in her class. Miss Neal comes out. She goes, "We had one Golden Horseshoe in the class." She goes, and I want to bring him up front right now. And I thought I was like him, and I like, and my buddy was like, I mean, I had hair over his head. He was just like laid out. And she goes, Jerry Beasley. I was like, and Jerry goes, he walked up for. He's like, "Thank you."
Wow.
She's like, "He'll be representing the school at such and such." He was like, "No, I won't." She was like, "Oh yeah, you will."
Is that Miss O'Neill, the science teacher?
No, Mrs. Neal.
Oh, Mrs. Neal.
Neal.
Did you have a science teacher in middle school, Miss O'Neill?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She's dead now.
Oh no. What happened?
She was very old.
I knew her son Dan, and he was in a band with me.
She was a huge Trek fan.
Yes, she was. And
Yeah.
also, she was the one teacher. The thing I remember about her was that if you were bad in her class, she'd lock you in the closet. Can't do that no more.
No, no. I did remember because she, much like most of my teachers, illegally sold pop to her kids at a crazy high markup. Do you remember that?
Yes, I forgot all about that.
And one time I tried to pass off some kind of a foreign coin. She never caught me, but I did it. I'm sorry, Miss O'Neill,
Man,
wherever you are.
She knows now.
Yeah, but I dropped some kind of like Belarus or some crazy foreign coin in there. And
I remember we'd ask her what she had for lunch. She'd be like, Vulcan pickle sandwich. Every day she'd say that. And whatever she was eating looked like that. Horrible looking. Look at this type I used. What was I thinking?
It makes my head hurt just looking at it.
So I'm going to be like this. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Amigos. I'm blind.
It's 2 a.m. where Edvin Helland is.
Where are you, Edvin?
And Duncan Styles says I have to be up at 7 a.m., but he's still watching. He's
got styles, man.
He's still watching better than he ever did.
That's a good name, too. I like everyone in the chat room has a better name than we got.
Yeah. You're not related to AJ, are you, Duncan?
AJ. That'd be awesome.
Actually, it's his brother. Who knew?
You're more of an idiot than usual, Boat. So
All
you
right.
tell me what's in the UK.
So Edvin's in Stord, Norway.
Oh, man. You know, I got an interesting question for you, Edmund. I got a guy, and listen to this, I'm selling a bunch of that Atari stuff on eBay, right? So I get a message from a guy, and I've got a book for sale, just a book. He asked me, he goes, what's the cost of shipping this to Norway? I was like, how the hell would I know? You know, you could, what, do you have no hands? I mean, eBay's got a built-in dealio, so I have no idea what it would cost to ship a book to Norway. You want to weigh in on that?
No.
Okay.
It's probably expensive because a cassette to Norway is $13.
Really, a cassette?
Yeah. Anything larger.
Can you use like media rates?
No, there is no overseas media mail.
What's up with that, Edvin? What's going on over in Norway?
It's a lot cheaper for people overseas to ship stuff here because they do have boats. They do have the slow mail that comes here.
Yeah.
But we don't offer that anymore.
We're in a hurry.
Yeah.
We need to get stuff there now. By the way, did I tell you? Did you see what that Atari sold for?
No, what did it go for?
Well, this is not what shipping was $20. I sold it for $130. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
$10 for
Not
that
bad
thing.
at all.
And shipped it out yesterday. Luckily, it was just going to Washington because I could have taken a bath on the shipping on that because that thing's heavy.
You do you not just put in? Do you do
this was I was trying an angle. I was working an angle.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well.
You know. Well, you want to rock and or roll? What do
Edvin says he wanted to send something to you, but it was $100.
Oh,
Don't
Edvin.
send us anything that we're not worth it, man.
Just your kind attention is all
just
we
your
ask.
presence.
I
your virtual
like
presence.
I like the fact that we got people watching us in Norway.
Yeah.
So exotic.
Yeah.
What are we?
Nothing.
Can you imagine tuning in and watching two goose from West Virginia do anything? What could they do?
That sounds like my life.
What?
Just every day. Just
No wonder you could always booze.
all right.
And then we're out. Hold on, let me get the
Mic drop.
Gambletron here.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, we're gonna go blank for a second here.
Yeah, that's my evening. That's my plans after I get out of here. Oh God, what's this? Oh, new post. I was gonna say that's updated for a week.
That there.
You know, I listened to the Flatwood Monsters thing. That was very informative. If you don't know anything about the Flatwood Monster, you're in business. I'm serious. I'm like, man, that was not bad.
Do you?
By the way, this is gonna be another one of those weeks where like since you've staggered the releases of this stuff, it's a lot more difficult for me to tell what the hell's happened.
The stagger the releases for what?
Well, I used to be whatever the last Amigos was over, everything that was past, I was like, okay, this is all new. But now it's like,
well, it's just a 2-day thing. I mean, we record on Friday and the show goes up on Monday.
You make it sound so logical, but no, it's not that.
Well, I think Google Plus does not put things in the right order sometimes too.
Well, I'll send them a note. This is what I get for throwing my allegiance behind Google Plus. It's either them or Facebook. Hey, they're not the one getting busted for massive privacy problems. You think Google Plus would be blowing up right now, but nope.
I don't know why. Okay, there we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. Put that on there.
Yeah,
all right.
Leave that up. Do you have feedback or anything?
Yeah, I'll take care of all that stuff.
I'll pass you run the show now.
I'll pass it to you for the news. And
just point to dummy. Oh, God, I'm ready.
Did you see on, you missed a lot of stuff on Discord. You have not been around lately.
Man, it's been a balls to the wall. I've been looking.
Did you answer why you call it the Gambletron 5000?
I did answer that. And the answer is because I'm dumb. I would literally.
But I mean, is that a reference to anything?
There was an old, incredibly old episode of The Simpsons where this guy talks about the Gambletron 4000. It's back when they were using a computer to pick football winners. Mm-hmm. And so for years I would use my phone, my old phone, I had a real crummy little football thing on it, and I used to call it the Gambletron, and I've always done it ever since. I don't know, I don't even have any football stuff on here, but I don't even think about it. You know how I am, it just comes out, I don't know why.
Okay, well, that's a good story.
Don't press me, Bo. I'll jump right, I'll turn this table over.
I know you will.
God.
Okay, you ready?
No.
All right.
Now I'm ready. Okay, yeah, I'm good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about hired guns.
Whoa! Don't do that.
Or...
Those are the guns?
Those are the guns,
man,
baby.
You got ripped off on those hirings. You got 12 to choose from. You picked that one?
Hey, I got 4-inch pythons, baby.
Were they the cage in the back?
That's, they're not present.
You got a couple loose threads on your shirt. That's what you got.
We got some feedback from the last episode.
Be good.
Actually, it was a guy. He's a couple weeks late, but he entered correctly. The song was "I'm Still Standing" by Elton John. Thank you. But he wrote it. And he said, "You guys are awesome, and I have never even seen an Amiga before." So he says, "Thanks for all. Thanks for
something. You and him got something common.
Thanks for all the great entertainment." His name is Dell is Dreamy.
Dell is Dreamy.
Like Del Shannon, baby.
You sure it doesn't mean Dell the computers?
No, because it's only one L. Like Del Shannon.
You think that's who he's talking about? Maybe his wife's name's Dell. No. Or husband, kid, car, dog.
There's only one Dell. And
Del
he sang
Shannon?
Run Away.
Well, you're right. That's a good song.
Yeah.
Has never seen an Amiga.
He's never seen an
Amiga.
Amiga.
He stumbled across us.
Maybe through ARG. Our sister show. You should watch it. It drops every Wednesday on our YouTube channel. So, Aaron, this concludes the feedback. It was a light week for feedback.
It was.
Thank you, Dell, for writing in.
What show did we do last week? I can't. Oh, it was Soccer Kid.
Soccer Kid.
Soccer. No one likes soccer, apparently.
No, it's not really popular outside the United States.
You know, I watched some soccer the other day.
What did you watch? Premier League?
I don't know. It was on ESPN while I was at this restaurant. Man, I couldn't get out there quick enough.
What restaurant were you at that was playing soccer?
Let me tell you something. I thought about this. I don't want to rag on anybody here, but I'm sort of gonna.
Rooney.
You know, ESPN's in trouble.
Yeah, they're letting go people.
Now, what have you noticed? What's happened? Remember when ESPN was up here? It was high. It was way up, and now it's slowly sliding. What have they done in the last few years? What have they started doing? They're pushing soccer more and more. What's happening? Popularity nosedive.
The more you push it, the more people run away.
So they're going to meet right in the middle.
Right at the bottom of the graph is where they're going to meet.
You know, Americans, we just don't dig it.
No.
And to be honest with you, we don't dig football anymore either.
No.
It's all coming apart. It's all coming. We don't got no. I tried to watch a baseball game the other night. They're instant replaying. What? It was a stupid. I just sat there. I was like, what just happened? What, the umps are meeting for something? Yeah. I'm like, when did? Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm out. I was out. I gave up. I read an article that. I think it was the who are the two crummiest teams? It's not the Marlins. It's the other Florida team or the other
Tampa Bay. The Rays.
Them. They just dropped their all-star player, and for him, they got nothing. They're so cheap and crummy. They're not even a team. They're just they're a loose conglomerate of guys in the same outfit. It's what they are. Do you know what I'm talking about here?
No.
Yeah, I was reading ESPN. They're like, yeah, these guys are idiots, and here's why. So their all-star just signed to the Pirates this year. He's like leading the league.
Well, baseball's been hurting this year because even though it's almost May, it's still 30 degrees outside.
Did you see the game last week where the White Sox drew? I think it was like 500 people.
Yeah, like 500 people.
They showed the stands. There was no one there. This is like if we had a concert or something. It'd be very similar.
Yeah. Elder Beerman's going out of business.
Really? Oh, man.
Can you believe it? You need to go in there and get some deals.
I don't wear women's dresses that often.
I wear Elder Beerman apparel quite often.
Then I think you answered your question as to why I'm not going in the Elder Beerman.
You don't.
I cannot pull off whatever. I can't pull off the checkered sweater vest.
Sweater vests? Oh, I'll load up on them when I'm
like
there.
Boat Junior. Hey, everybody. That's the way you talk. I'm Boat.
With the shoulders up too. I like that.
Hey guys, it's me, Boat. Look at my sweater. That's my impersonation. What do you think?
I feel like we can't pad this out anymore. Let's go on to the news.
Oh, we're padding? Is that what that was? That's the kind of entertainment that people don't like the Amiga tune in for.
That's true. No. Dell's in heaven right now.
We're going on tour. It's up time for the Amiga news. Let me get out my phone and have a look. So, right out of the gate, we're going to talk about our beloved brother, Chris Folds.
Chris Folds!
That's right. A new Amiga in the making? Boat? Did you see this? A new Amiga in the making? Amiga X. Sounds pretty cool.
Well, I don't know if you've checked out this site lately, but they've taken it all down.
Yeah. Yeah, Amiga X. Not a new Amiga in the making. I will say I like the website. I noticed this when I tried to look into this. I was like, what am I seeing here? And I still don't know. So can you explain what this is?
Yeah, so what these guys are trying to do is they're trying to create what appears to be a full-size keyboard emulator-based Amiga. Not unlike the Super Nintendo Mini, this NES Mini.
Oh, so they're trying to do my thing.
Right, they're trying to do your thing. They're pulling the rug out from under you. They took your idea, which they clearly stole from watching
Because no
Amigas.
one has ever said that but me, on anywhere.
And they've built this, I don't want to get involved. They built this front end that actually looks very impressive.
Yeah, it looks nice. Eh?
It's mouse driven.
Yeah.
And
I would hope.
And being the Amiga, and I guess that their plan is to bring this to market in some way. However, it looks as if they are going to pull the cards back to the chest for a while until they get some particulars worked out.
Amiga X has been removed for retooling.
Right.
Understand. Speaking of something that was needs retooling or is tool-like, let's go up to Mr. Fold's next submission. I found this highly interesting. New ARM-based Amiga OS variant in development. No.
Yeah, this was
incorrect.
This was the most controversial Amiga news story of this past week. Apparently, this was reported that there was this John Ansenden.
Wow, what a name.
Yeah, he's, I guess, this was reported that he was working on this thing, and then the next day John was like, whoa, back the truck up. This is not what it appears to be.
What I liked, if you read his comments, he's like, I was just discussing this in a public forum, and then the next thing I know, wham, So we will see. I will say I've read something from John before, because he's not a big fan of Cluanto, and we've went down that road. I like Calanto's stuff, but some of the things they do, I'm not real keen on. And so there you go. So, but anyway, yeah, and some places got hot water. I'm not going to go into that, but clearly,
if you want to get outraged, just join any Amiga Facebook group, and you can join the mob at being outraged.
Except ours.
Yeah,
we're
happy.
Cool.
Yeah, we're all cool all the time.
And then as a sidebar, more padding. No, as a sidebar, be cool. We're all, it's for God's sakes, it's an old computer. What are we doing here? There's no fighting.
You shouldn't.
We're the cool community.
Right.
Everybody's laid back. We're not. But we should be.
We're a small enough group as it is. We don't need to further fracture what we have.
Absolutely not. Listen, let people do what they want. If they want to do this or that, that's cool. You've got the Amiga at the pad, right? You got the emulator. It's all good.
Yeah.
There's no reason to fight or get upset with each other. No flaming. If you guys got a vampire, good on him. Have a ball. If you don't have one, that's cool. Why fight about it? Is it me?
That's what the internet seems like it's for.
I know. You know me. I'm a peacemaker.
You are. You're a lover, not a fighter.
That's right. That's exactly. I love you, Boat.
Thank you. I love you too.
I'll fight you later. So next on the docket, you can see our boy Dreamcatcher. I say that it's sort of derogatory because he's a man.
He's
He's
all
all
man.
man. That's right. Big DK. Ground control to Major Pond.
Oh, I love
Going back to what made him a star.
Yeah,
right?
this is he rode the coattails of his James Pond review all the way to glory, Amigos glory.
No, really, that was I read that very first one. I was just like, who the hell's this guy?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Commander Stud with his writing of godlike abilities.
Yeah.
And so he's back.
I had no idea that there was a third James Pond game.
I knew there was, but we've never looked at it. But it looks interesting. And of course, he goes in depth. Did you read through this?
I have not read this yet.
I may have to. I've never played this game actually. I've got it obviously, but I never played it, so it's on my list now. Put it on the list, Bo.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dreamcatcher in all of his glory. Big, long article, and it was good too. Speaking of Dreamcatcher, because I don't know if we mentioned this last week. I think we did. Did you look at this? How do you describe this video he's released? The one right there. Did we look at that last week? 6 Amiga games you've never heard of.
I don't think that we talked about this.
This was great, and once again he's made the transition into video seamlessly. It was really good. And it's been super popular too. I mean, but it's also absolutely bonkers. So he starts off with the bronies. But hey, whatever dude sure wants.
That's right.
But I love Dreamcatcher. His stuff is good. It's all good. Really, this is gonna sound really arrogant or something. And I'm not about arrogance. But everyone that provides stuff for our site is the best person on earth, except for me, who's clearly I am bringing up the rear by a long margin. So we should probably go ahead and mention our sister show, which you already mentioned once. But let's beat that thing to the ground. This week, should you care to join us, we have looked at crazy games on, what is it, the ZX Spectrum, or
That's
ZX,
right.
if you will. Me and Boat, we took the dive and picked a couple games. We picked Death Chase, clearly the finest game ever made. And we also had a look at School Days. School Days, also a very interesting game. And they were a lot of fun. We had a good time playing with the ZX stuff, didn't we, Boat?
We did.
And if you stick around for next week's show, we're back in it with some Amstrad stuff.
That's
we're going
right.
crazy. It's crazy time.
So if you only listen to the audio version of the podcast, ARG Presents is on a separate feed. You can find that at amigosretrogaming.com. You subscribe there, or subscribe through iTunes. And Mondays on YouTube is when Amigos comes out. Wednesdays is ARG Presents, and Friday is Insert Disc 2, our off-topic
And
show.
let's talk about Insert Disc 2.
All right.
So we've actually put out a couple. I don't think have we ever mentioned Insert Disc 2 on the show?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So a couple weeks ago, we did an episode on arcade collecting, which I thought was kind of fun. And then last week, and I was real happy with this one, just got released, hot off the press. I think it just came out today. Our talk about my trip to Braxton County to come face-to-face with the Braxton County /Green/ Flatwoods Monster.
Do they ever try and combine all the names into one somehow?
No, they don't ever do that.
Like the Braxwoods.
Here we go.
The Brax. Maybe that's why they don't try
That's
and
why
put
they
it
don't
together.
do it, because I think to themselves, we'll look like fools if we try that. What were we thinking? So yeah, if you're into, Insert Disc 2 is our crazy, just talk. It's sort of like what our pre-show used to be, or post-show, but we just figured, screw it. Let's just put
We're
it
putting it out
there.
for everybody.
Now, do you want to hear me and Bo ramble on about the stupidest things you could think of? Only you can decide.
Clearly you do, because you're listening to us right now.
Just rambling on. If you like that sort of thing, I mean, you're in.
If you want to listen to that without even the pretext or pretense of Amiga, then Insert Disc 2 is the show for you.
Yeah. You got the little sound effect come from the Amiga. So you got there's that.
That's true.
So it's all about the Amiga all the time. So anyway, if you're into that stuff, it's darn. I enjoyed recording that. You did a stream this week of Super Nintendo games, I believe.
Right. We took a look at some different Super Nintendo games, none of which I can currently remember at this time. Oh, we did Super Black Bass, my favorite fishing game.
Super Black
I love Super Black Bass.
The name of that thing, I don't know what it is about it. Why does it creep me out like it does?
I played that for a while, and we took a look at some of the other Super Nintendo and Nintendo games. Thanks again to Christopher Hassel and his generous donation of a Super Nintendo Mini.
That was super nice.
Yeah.
Me and honorary one night only amigo Leroy got together last Saturday night for the midnight special, where we played Amigo. Well, actually, we played one Amiga fighting game, but mostly arcade fighting games. Had a malfunction at the junction with my. The not PAL Amiga is just killing me. The PAL, everything's in PAL. It just drives me nuts, and so it makes it hard to record some of that stuff. So we did a lot of arcade stuff, though, and you can see me wail on Leroy. I will give Leroy credit, though. He actually won. He beat me like a dog at Darkstalk. I mean, just crushed me. He knew how to play the fish guy. He didn't tell me. Smart guy. He did a little guitar picking in there. He stole your gimmick and opened us up with a.
Yeah,
you and him should have like a dueling guitars segment.
I need to watch that. That sounds good.
Oh, yeah. And Larry's starting his own channel here soon. He's going to do, it's all about Amiga. No, it's not. It's all about his music and his band, Leroy's Musical Freak Show, which they are spinning back up. So I'll link it when it comes out.
All right,
Leroy's a good guy, old friend of mine. So we like.
You can see more of him in our one and only episode of Amigos Role Playing.
Oh yeah, that's right. Leroy was in that one, wasn't he? So that we did a lot of action this week, a lot of good stuff going on in the Amiga world. Can you think of anything else we need to cover on the news?
I don't think so. I think it's time to dive right into this week's game.
Now, let's talk about this week's game. And full confession, this game should not be played in a week. It needs a series of years to be played appropriately, because this is one deep, deep game. But we gave it a shot, and we will try to at least scrape the surface of what this game is. The game is, of course, Hired Guns. By the way, at home, if you see that, I wrote this in the smallest conceivable text. I don't know why I did that. So when you see me looking at this thing like this, remember
it's an extra echo effect. Did
you ever watch Twilight Zone?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember the episode with
the broken glasses?
That's what this is, right? There was time. There was, and that's what he said. Yeah. That's the joke. What? Just cut that. Okay. Don't cut nothing. Just leave it. It's all gold.
I never cut anything.
I know you don't. It hurts me. So, Hired Guns.
Before we start, we should say that this game was given to us for play from.
They gave it to us?
Well, it was suggested to us by Amigos Game Selection Committee member Figgy CTZ.
The Fig.
Yeah. Okay, onward.
Thank you. Anything else? You want to let me talk again? You just jump right in.
Okay.
Just smack me next time. It makes it easier. So, Hired Guns.
Did you know they're closing down the Little Beer Man?
What?
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to hire a gun here in a minute. Hired Guns. It came out in '93, Boat. This bad boy shipped on five discs.
Now, have you seen the playthrough where the guy does the disc swapping?
Well, this guy did the disc swapping before I watched any playthrough.
Oh.
Because I thought, I like to play these games in their natural habitat to absorb the experience of playing the games. I think you're talking about the nostalgia nerd. It did that. I like his stuff a lot, but he's right. It took me from the time I started until the time I actually physically could do something in the game. It took like 4 minutes, and that's at top speed.
Right.
Swapping, and that's when I immediately stopped playing with discs. and keep in mind, I've got the Go Tech. I stopped teched. I loaded up Amiga Forever.
WHD.
I don't have anything bad to say about Cloanto, and used it from there. So anyway, 5 discs. That's 1 disc. That's 2 discs too many. It's a lot. And this game has a lot of swapping in it. Now, this was published by Psygnosis and developed by DMA Design Games. I love it.
First, there was Walker.
No, there was Menace.
Menace.
So, what do you know about DMA, Bud? Well, I'll tell you what you know.
Okay, tell me what I know.
Name all the games they developed for the Amiga. What's how many you can get?
Okay.
They only had a few.
Lemmings.
That's all the Lemmings. That's right.
Okay. Menace.
That's 2.
Walker.
That's 3.
The Owl game.
No.
That was Menace, right?
No.
What was the Owl game?
Owl game was Agony.
Oh, they didn't do Agony?
No.
This game.
First, there was Menace. Then a
Oh, Blood
DMA
Money.
design
Yeah,
game.
that's where that
No,
comes
you gotta
from.
say it right.
Okay.
Blood Money.
If you give me
There's a whole lot more coming. Yeah. So these guys, every game a winner, as far as I'm concerned.
winner
every
defined
single
loosely.
game a winner, as far as I'm concerned. So the fella that really was behind this, and this guy's he's a quadruple threat coder, graphics guy. He came up with the concept. He did the sound effects. Scott Johnson. He is a stud. He did all the DMA stuff. Plus, he did Colonization and UFO. Remember that? UFO, which is a very popular kind of real-time strategy game, or is it turn-based? Turn-based strategy game.
Right. XCOM.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, that's the American name. So this was an all-star cast. They had the whole DMA gang, on this game. And some people, maybe not you, some people consider this their finest achievement. And some people even hold this game higher than Lemmings.
This game is very well liked.
This game is, even if you don't like the game, the actual feat that they pulled off in this game is unbelievable. So let's just get to the nitty gritty here. Hired Guns is a game that takes place and you've got on a screen that is divided in 4 ways. Okay, you've got 4 little screens. Inside each of these screens, effectively, is a character that is separate from the other 3. They can in a 3D environment. Now, is this Doom? No, but it's as close as you're going to get without actually being a first-person shooter. Would you give me that? I think it's sort of like it's screen-by-screen movement, sort of like. What I first saw this, it reminded me of Waxworks. It's very similar, isn't it, Boat, to Waxworks in the way your guy moves. So, what is this game? Well, the game has a backstory that is like a novella. It's a lot like Waxworks. I was like, I'm going to read this whole thing, and I was like, I can't get through this thing. I mean, it's a monster. I'd still be reading, but basically. Your guys, you pick a team of hired guns, mercenaries, and the goal is to assemble this, basically a detonation device to blow up this structure. Okay, and you go through a series of levels to do it. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I didn't blow up jack squat. I was nowhere near getting through this thing. I went through all the tutorial. Thank God for the tutorial. I'll tell you that right now, because I learned everything I know about the game through the tutorial levels. You pick a team of guys from 12.
There's a ton of guys.
There's 12 guys. Now I wrote down all their names, believe it or not, because I'm a crazy man, and they're actually pretty cool. I mean, I have to say, I like, again, it gives you that many choices, and they're neat. And they've, of course, in the manual, they've all got backstories. I'm going to read some of the names. You got Rorian D. Verge. You've got Des Verger. Now, let me get into, I'm not going to get into all these, but some of these guys and girls are people. Then you've got some robots in there, too, or some kind of android-y type creatures, and they make up different, sort of like, I guess I would go with archetypes. You've got fighters, you've got smarter people, you've got demolition types, you've got medics, right? Very important. So you assemble this team however you want, and then the game begins, and it's split up into missions, and you will take your team into the mission. Now you can play this game really several different ways. You can play by yourself, which in my opinion is god awful. I can't control that many people at once. It's just too much. It was too much stuff for me to handle. You can also play this with a couple people, and you can actually play it with 4 people. Get this: you got you got a joystick, keyboard, and 2 mice. That's how you play it.
Okay.
Which that's cool. I'll give them credit on that. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be the way to play this game, because don't get me wrong, they do some intuitive things to make it a little easier to play with multiple people. But really, you've got multiple people doing multiple things. This game has a lot of switch puzzles and a lot of that sort of thing.
So sort of Lost Vikings in first person.
Well, it reminded me a lot of, like, say, like a Doom. And in some ways, you have access cards and keys you've got to get as you go through it. You're often hounded by these sort of mutants that play into the storyline that you've got to kill. So let's talk about how you control this game. What did you think about the controls? You want to talk about the controls a little bit?
Well, I mean, it's all mouse based.
Yes.
You know,
or it's cursor based, because if you can use a joystick and keyboard,
if you're, I can, I want to compare it to Waxworks so much because we just covered Waxworks and they're similar games. I thought that I could move around easier in this game than Waxworks. I felt that I had more of a sense. It's like whenever you click forward, you're moving through. It was like you're moving through space. It's a more convincing illusion of moving through space.
Yes.
I felt like I always felt like I wanted. It kind of reminded me also of Alcatraz because you're forced into this 4-player thing. You know, you've got to play with 4 guys. So I always felt like, man, I wish I could just open up this screen and I could really see more of what was going on if it wasn't so cramped. I thought that the way that you have to select your weapon was not ideal. It seemed like it was too many clicks to equip stuff, especially because monsters will attack you without warning. However, I felt like the combat was much more intuitive than Waxworks, but it was also more gun based. I mean, you point at the thing and you fire and it dies.
The controls, in some ways, they were frustrating. There are shortcuts to get your gun up and stuff.
Okay.
I learned. But the controls are, you ever play Diablo? Mm-hmm. You know how you click to get places? I always hated that. Mm-hmm. I don't like using the mouse to get around.
Right.
Okay? So there you go. That said, they had their reasons for doing it in this game, and the multiplayer I'm sure was one of the reasons. It's very interesting the way that if you keep the mouse at the top of the screen, you've got your arrows, and you can go up, not left and right. You're not going to be. This isn't something where you're going to be strafing a sucker. You basically come upon someone, you pull that mouse down, and it becomes a gun sight, and then you shoot.
Right.
With whatever weapon you got. And there's a ton of weapons in this too, a ton of them, and so. It's better than Waxworks, yes, in that way. And again, comparing this to Waxworks, I feel like we're doing this game an injustice because it's a much, much better and deeper game than Waxworks.
Yeah, I agree.
We're just comparing the actual movement to Waxworks because it's similar. It's just the way that one step at a time movement. This, by the way, just up front, this would be ripe for a remake with a proper engine. And I read that one had been attempted, but had been they gave up on it. I believe they were using the Unreal Engine at the time. So you can see why people might want to remake this, because if you had the 4 windows in high def with a nice smooth pitch, that would really make it fun. If you could actually get the full proper 3D as opposed to that one screen at a time gimmick that you had. So the game has 3 modes. Like I said, there's training mode, which gives you 5 missions that just show you how to play the game. Like the first one, you just have to leave. That's the
Get out.
One. Without any keys or anything. And you have to move each of your guys to the exits, which, hey, listen, I had no idea what I was doing, so I needed those things. Then you've got a full campaign mode, right? And so that's where you go all over the planet, which is called, the planet's known as the graveyard. And you go all over it, and you have 20 different areas, like 20 different places to fight, which is, that's pretty impressive. And you have to go around, and of course you come across all these puzzles. You have to fight all these guys. The terrain is really good. You've got water. You've got multiple levels. I mean, this stuff doesn't seem like that big a deal at the time. If you played a game I remember playing a game on the Coco called Dungeons of Dargoth, and it was a game that was sort of a pseudo 3D like this is. But I mean, they didn't do any elevations. There was no. It was just a straight on thing. And a lot of games, people take that for granted when adding elevation stuff was sort of a new concept. If you played a game like this, game's often compared to the Dungeon Master series, which didn't have the elevations and stuff, all the stairs and all the platforms and stuff. So, and considering this is split into 4 different screens, it makes it even more impressive. Now, having 4 screens on all the time has its disadvantages. In fact, a lot of them. This reminded me in some ways of the original Lotus, where you always have the screen was split. It's a cool gimmick, but when push comes to shove, I'd rather just have the full screen.
I literally just said that like 5 minutes ago.
Well, I agree. And one of the reasons I like to have the full screen is because everything is so tiny. I'm blind. I mean, you can see me reading this thing right here. The reason that they have 4 screens is obvious, but there is no way to knock it down. You're basically boned. So the third type of the third game mode is called short action. Okay, you get to pick the map, and you fight some enemies to reach a goal in the map, and that's pretty much that. It's like a quickie version. This game has a crazy plot, like I mentioned, but to summarize it, the year is 2712, and basically you are one of 12 hired guns. You've accepted the mission on the graveyard. The task: wipe all the genetic experiments on the planet out, and then pick up the 4 units of a nuclear generator, bring them to the command center, and nuke the planet. Nuke the planets.
Man, it's echoes of Grisor.
Yeah. There are some similarities in a weird way.
Yeah.
We should mention the many things you can pick up in this.
Yes. They love inventory.
This is the super frog of this genre. There is a ton of things, and you can pick up so much that you can't pick up anymore.
You're over encumbered.
It's neat the way they do the stuff you can get. When you walk into a space or a square that's occupied by an item, it sort of appears in the side. I mean, you're not standing on it, and you can click on it, and you've got it. I like that. I mean, that's neat.
It makes it easy to know, hey, there's a thing here.
One of the problems I had, though, was just navigating to the inventory menu while I needed something quickly.
Yeah.
For healing, for example. Now, you can set that stuff up, but the problem I had is just that when I wanted to heal someone, I would be attacked and the healer would be killed. When I wanted to attack something, there'd be nothing there. I'd have to go back, get the healing. So I mean, there was always some annoyance, ineptitude on my part from being able to actually do 2 or 3 things at once.
Now, this game does not have there's no series of commands where you can get your guys to just follow you, is there?
There is. Oh, yeah. You can. They'll follow you if you want. Even still, when you're in comp, one guy can't occupy a space with something else. And so often when I'd have all the team assembled, I usually, my usual setup would be, I always had a medic, I would have a fighter and a robot, and then I would also have another fighter. That's the way, a tough guy. And I would want to get those tough guys out to fight the whatever was there. And this is not a game that's intuitive in terms of positioning. All right, this is another area where having a human control these people would be a lot easier, because you could at least kind of get everyone around where you wanted to go. Now, could someone that was a better hand at this than me do it? Probably.
Do you think it might be faster? What are your thoughts on actually setting up, the 4-player thing and actually using each method to control a guy? Do you think that might be more intuitive?
I never really thought of that. It's like those people that play 4 or 5 chessboard games at once. I don't think I could do that.
It would be difficult. I just wondered if that.
One of my problems with the game, so like Eye of the Beholder, where you've got a party of people, I have trouble. I'm old, and I have trouble using multiple characters. I knew about this game before we even had it come up, and I knew what it was like because I'd loaded this up back in the day, and it was just, even as a younger guy, just was not good at this sort of game. I've never had the opportunity to play this with multiple people, but I'm going to play a 4-player game as soon as I can get enough people to come over. I've got the mice, I've got the setup, and what would help is a big TV. You obviously put this on 1084, you're cramped in there. This is a perfect example. Wouldn't it be nice to have the nice video output with the big screen TV, make it nice and huge?
Right.
But I think the majority of the fun would be in a game with multiple people. I just can't see how people could play this by themselves. Now, I watched playthroughs, and presumably one person was just whooping butt without any problems, but I couldn't do it. So this is one of those games. We've had a couple of these, like Syndicate was one, where I don't feel like a week is enough to really grasp the depth of it. I did watch the ending of it. I love the ending because it tells you what happened to each of the characters. You know, like a postscript to what happened.
Like the end of Killer Instinct.
I didn't know it did that.
Yeah.
Does it do that to every single character? I didn't know that.
Well, not with the character you're playing with.
No, every character.
All 12?
It goes through every single one.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
wow.
So at least what I was watching, now they may have spliced it in. I don't know. But I thought it was neat that they would go over the characters and what happened to it. It's neat that they actually wrote an ending to it. You could tell the guys that put this out really cared a lot about what they were doing because it's an in-depth game. And as I read about it, there's a lot of stuff on these missions and stuff. These aren't plain Jane. These are pretty intricate missions that require 4 people to set off separate switches or to do different objectives or to do simultaneous things. I'm sure this was so far ahead of its time. I can't think of a game like it. Can you, right off the top of your head?
No.
I'm not sure I've ever seen one before or since, except until the first-person Doom era.
Yeah. This game was really unique. I can't think of any other game like it.
I remember playing a game called it was called Red Alert Renegade, where you had a team that was trying to set off a nuke, and that sort of casually reminded me of this. You had teammates that had to do certain things at certain times, but I mean, this was in the late 90s, late or early 2000s when we played it.
So much later than...
Oh, yeah. So I gave this a good look over in terms of reviews. This has an 8.19 on Lemon, which is a tremendous score for a game on Lemon. That's a real high score. When it was released, it did pretty well. Amiga actually gave it a 90. Amiga Force gave it a 97. Amiga Format gave it a 95. These are high scores. The one anomaly I saw was Amiga Computing only gave it a 62.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know what the problem was there, but they killed it. I looked at, by the way, there was a conversion of this on the PC. And I read an interview with a fellow that worked on it, and he basically said it was just like the Amiga version with a few more colors, but he said he really didn't think it added anything because they really couldn't do the colors didn't add anything to what they'd already made. So kind of a letdown there. They were making a CD32 version of this, which would have been interesting. And
did the CD32 have any 4-player expansion capabilities that have a multi-tap of any kind?
I don't think so. So I don't know how you would have. I mean, it had 2 joystick ports. If you had the right equipment, you could have a keyboard on it. I don't know what they would have done about that. That would have been tricky.
Maybe it would have. Who knows? It might have launched with a multi-tap.
That would have been financial suicide.
Well,
surely by then they would have realized that's not the right answer to do. But anyway, I had a look on eBay on this thing. It's available. If you're in the Netherlands, which we have someone in the chat right now that is up that it's Norway. Yeah, Norway, Netherlands is the same place, right? Stupid Americans. You were just talking about how dumb we were. There you go. So we've got it was $16 for the box. The box of this is awesome. It's got all kinds of goodies in it. In the UK, they're ranging from $17 to $35. There was even a copy of this in the US, $72 or best offer.
Boy.
So we won't be buying this one. I'm going to assume that this got an American release because most of the Psygnosis DMA stuff did. I think all of it did, actually, as far as I know. But this would be one to get. The box is really cool looking. I mean, there's a lot to like about this game. This is one of those games that there's a lot to like, and I have no beef with the game. It's just I'm not capable of being good at it, not by myself. And until I try it with 4 players, I probably won't go back to it. Sorry, but I thought it was pretty cool.
I think that it's a great concept. I think that for when you don't have 4 players, to make it as playable as they did, was impressive. But it was it's you're going to have to make an investment, a time investment to
Absolutely.
get the most out of this.
I know. I watched the guys. I saw someone that had put up a playthrough. Gosh, it was like 5 hours.
Yeah.
It was a real, and these are people that are studs,
Right?
You know, it took me. I can't tell you how long it took me just to mill around the first couple levels. I mean, I was just like, oh God. And the levels are huge.
I thought it was neat the way that the players they'll put quotes up, like it adds some life to the game.
Yeah, there was a lot of attention to detail in this. Even the items you pick up, they look awesome. Like I said, the environment is cool. You know, you can drown right away. I mean, there's. I like the fact that there's a lot of different areas. It's a sprawling game. I mean, the levels are large, and if you didn't have the map, you'd be completely boned. Even with the map, you're sort of boned. Anytime you can get lost, you can be darn sure that I'm going to be getting lost. And so I was lost a lot. And then you try to do this with 4 people. It was overwhelming to me.
Yeah.
So lovely.
All right, Aaron. Well, it's about time to talk about our lovely and talented Patreon people.
Okay. I was wondering what you were coming up with there.
Last week, Aaron, there were no entries on our song contest. It's pretty clear that Billy Joel is a non-factor overseas. His appeal lies mostly on these shores.
I knew who Billy Joel was, and even I wasn't 100% sure what you were singing.
You got it. You got that one right off the bat.
It took me a long try. And of course, I think John knew.
If he did, he didn't say anything. Yeah. So last week's song was Anthony's song, "Moving Out" by Billy Joel.
Anthony's song?
That's the name of the song.
Really?
Yeah.
I never heard that before.
It's on The Stranger, my favorite Billy Joel album. Oh, but anyway, if you would like to guess this week's song, and it's going to be hard, I'm not going to lie to you. Then you can send your guesses to john@amigospodcast.com, and I will read all of the winning entries with a special flair on the air.
Is that what you're going to do?
Wow.
What is that? That's a flair?
That's my sound.
That sounds like your sexy noise.
That is my sexy noise.
I don't like it. I need an adult. We're off the rails.
Here we go. Bang on, bang, bang, bang. Dan Ross, Leaf Caroline, Alan Kebab, Donald Tyler, Lev Lord, John Marshall, Matthew Perron, Ricky DeRocha, Creepy, Deadboy Fixie CTZ, The Slow North, Stefan Seingarn, Mortensen, Edvin Helline, Blender 75, Christopher Hessel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Foles, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, Graham Vebke, Brent Dowdy, Lane Dinson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Hucker, C. Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Stiles, Anthony Jarvis, Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Nanwill Williams, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim, Tommy Home, Bert Stad, Daniel Binks, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Warnes, Pixels at Dawn, and Kolbjorn Barman.
I got nothing on that one.
I didn't think you'd know. Hint, it's college music.
Oh, no. That explains it. It sounded sort of hicky. I thought it was about Country Joe and the Fish or something.
If you'd like to be part of that illustrious list of names and support the Amigos podcast, you can check out our Patreon page over at amigospodcast.com/amigospodcast.com/amigospodcast/Patreon.
Man, there's a lot of slashes in there.
Yeah. I kind of forgot where I was in the URL midway through. If you want to buy fine apparel, such as the shirt that Aaron is wearing right now, you can go to tpublic.com/stores/Amiga-tees and get yourself
start slashing.
Yeah, just start slashing around.
You know, I was 2 hours late getting here tonight.
You were.
As you know. So the whole time I was gone, what were you doing?
Oh, you mean, well, I set up the podcast.
Did you set up a few of these before I got here, Boat?
Possibly got a little loopy.
Oh, I knew it. I knew it.
So, Aaron, next week on Amigos, we are going to take a request from Amigos Game Selection Committee member Brutal Barracuda.
Double B. The Video Master.
The Video Master. He has requested we take a look at Flight of the Amazon Queen.
It's funny, we just covered a news story, gosh, about 2 months ago where they had translated that, and I believe it was it Spanish? or German or something like that. So it's fresh in my mind. I remember telling you then. I was like, we gotta look at this. So
yeah,
that should be interesting. What kind of? Is that a?
It's a point-and-click adventure in the vein of the LucasArts games.
Okay,
and,
well,
without giving too much away, I've played a little bit of this game, and
yeah,
I like it.
Oh, you just gave some of it away.
Yeah,
you like it, eh?
I like
okay,
it.
well that's good
like
enough for me.
All right, guys, we will see you next week. Don't forget to check out our sister show, ARG Presents, and Insert Disc 2, coming soon to a podcast feed near you. We'll see you next Friday. Adios. And by Friday, I mean Monday, unless you want to watch live, because we're still going.
Adios.
If you want to watch us live, we're still rolling. We're not cutting off.
Wouldn't everyone just stop listening when we said adios?
No, I'll edit it. It'll be
okay.
And so we'll just pick it up from this right here. If you want to watch us live, we record Fridays at 5:30 or 8:30, depending on when Aaron gets here.
Traffic.
You can join the fine folks in the chat, like Ed Van Helen, UK Retro Gamer, Hasifa, Duncan Styles, Pixels at Dawn, John Marshall, Henrik Anderson, all the awesome
UK.
guys. UK, yeah, I say UK Retro Gamer. We'll say him again.
UK. Screwing with you.
Good night, folks.
Adios.
All right.
Oh man. Whew. Take me to the water.
So, what do you want to talk about? You said you had stuff.
Huh?
For Insert Disc 2. You said you had tons of stuff.
Are we? Is it on? It's
We're on.
Yeah, you got that right, Pix. Good God Almighty. So let me tell you about my ride over here, Mr. Boat.
Okay. So is this going to be the title of the episode? Aaron talks about his commute.
Well, no, I listen. Don't make me. I swear to you, I will run you over with the car. So they're doing all this construction here. Just keep filling it with the.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to switch over.
They're doing all this construction, as you know. So I knew it might be a tough chore to get here, but I left a little early. And immediately hit traffic right around the mall, okay? And so I thought, well, this probably isn't good. Actually, it was past the mall because I thought I'm going to try my luck today. And my luck was holding out great. I could see the Milton exit sign.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But then traffic stopped, and then I saw 1, 2, 3 ambulances, 2 fire trucks, a mystery hazmat vehicle. Then I knew it was going south when a chopper landed in the middle of the interstate.
Yeah, that's
not good.
That's a bad sign.
And I found out as my mom and dad were going to the mall, they saw what had happened. They said there's some cars there was 2 separate wrecks. That's what happened. So I sat there for an hour, and I called you. I'm like, we're boned. It's over. The dream is dead. So but I saw that chopper drop. I was like, well, they're going to be here for a while. So I eased up the berm and cut across a little emergency dealio and went back to the mall. Because I didn't want to do that, but I was almost out of gas. My thing, I was like, man, I've been sitting so long, I ran all my gas out.
And you've got that off-road machine.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I went directly
to Sheetz?
I passed the mall, because there was too much traffic, and I went to the Barbersville exit, came back around, and I thought I'll just come out the back way and just go to the gas station. Standstill traffic on the Route 60.
Oh.
So I hit my blinker. I cut in front of a guy. He let me over. I did a U-week, got back on the interstate, and then I saw they were flagging everyone off at the mall exit. Mm-hmm. So I got off there, but everyone was turning left at me. So I got in the middle lane, went to Sheetz, filled up on gas, and at this point I was just disgusted.
Right.
I went into Sheetz. I was like, listen, here's what I want you guys to give me. Give me 2 cookies, give me a soda pop, give me a pack of cherry cigars, and a lighter. I was done. So I went. I'd been in the car at this point for an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. I went out. I parked at the back of Sheetz. I just lit up a cigar. I smoked it. I just sat there stewing for a while. And then I lit up another one. I stewed some more. I got in the car, and I was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and try to get to Milton. 40 minutes later, I pulled in here. And it was, gosh, I don't know what time it is now, but it was probably
past 7.
7:20, something like that. And it was a long, long haul to get up here. But my dedication is such that I didn't want to deprive our good and dear friends of some Amigos action. Plus, I couldn't get home, so there's also that. And so here I am. So
Yeah.
it was a long day.
Pixels, yeah. People in the chat, if you wanna Google sheets at the Barbersville Mall, you
You may be able to zoom in and see a picture of me in the back smoking a cigar. I haven't smoked anything for it's been like New Year's Eve. It's the last time I smoked a cigar, so it was good. Didn't have my brand.
What's your brand?
Cheyenne Cherry Cigars. It's my brand.
You know what I like? Were the little cigars that have the wood tips?
I hate the the wood.
Yeah,
they're
the
not
wood
too bad.
tips,
Yeah, they're
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So, what did you do? We'll get a weekend story. What did you do? Let's hear some boat tales.
Well, it's been a busy week for the band.
Yeah.
You know, I took my students up to my alma mater, Ohio University.
Yeah.
And the trip itself was spectacular. The weather was great. I got introduced when the director of the OU jazz program introduced me as one of our best students ever, John Schaller.
Wow.
That made me feel good. Clearly, he was mistaken. But
Slip him a 10 or something.
The fun part of the trip was when we went for lunch, and as we were driving back into campus, we're driving through the student housing section. Okay. And at OU, I don't know if this is like this at many campuses, but the parties start early at OU. And so there are already women wearing almost nothing, hanging out on porches, guys without their shirts, dancing around, much drunken buffoonery. And the kids are just hanging out the windows, the boys are going insane. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm going to get complaints from parents. Luckily, nobody said anything, but and there were a bunch of parents with us that were just laughing because they know what it's like. But yeah, it brought me back to the old campus days. Do you remember when you were living on Did you live on 4th Avenue?
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet you saw some debauchery going down in your neck of the woods there in Huntington.
I can't go into it too much, but yeah, I hosted quite a bit of debauchery. I should have went to class every once in a while. That was my downfall. But yeah, now Marshall is not OU.
Yeah,
let's face
it. It's a different.
But I saw some chicanery, some debauchery.
Well, you've got the advantage / disadvantage of living in the middle of a city. You know, OU, all the people partying are people that go to the college, but you get your normal people partying, and those can be the scariest.
Yeah. It was, but I have been up to OU when there was parties going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, OU is like the campus is like a city. It's bigger than any city probably in our state. It's just their campus. It's huge.
It's a big place.
Yeah, it's big. So you had a good time up there.
We did have a good time. Then we had our ratings festival where the band played in front of judges. You know, you remember what that was like? Yeah. And so it was the first time that we've gotten straight ones, the top score you can get in 4 years. So kids were happy. I was happy.
Very good. Good job, dude.
Yeah. So
and this was a Saturday when you were doing this?
That was on Tuesday. The Jazz Festival was on Saturday. Ratings was on Tuesday, and all area band was on Thursday.
While you were doing your jazz festival, I was watching two men staple dollar bills to each other.
Yes.
Hideous, bloody wrestling.
Tell me about the IWC.
IWA.
Oh. What's IWC?
I don't know. I have no
I don't
idea
know
what
either.
that is, Boat. Now, we went and saw me and Amigo Leroy and Amigo Teresa. I guess she's Amiga. Went over to see IWA wrestling in Canal City. Did you know Canal City has the sports complex here in the valley?
Mm-hmm.
They've got one, but theirs is in a much different place. So we pull into this alley. I used to work in Canal City. I've never seen this place. And as we're driving down through, I'm like, man, this looks rough. And we look, and on the right is the sports complex. On the left is a biker bar.
Oh, my gosh.
I was like, holy crap. So we parked and went in. And it turned out to be a real good place to watch wrestling. They had a good crowd, and we had a good time at the show. There were some good matches. There were some horrible matches. There was one thing I wanted to mention. There was a girl there that said she was from the UK, and she called herself. What was it? She called herself. She was a lady of color, and she called herself the Duchess. She'd be like, I want all you West Virginians to bow down to the Duchess. And it was the worst hick British accent. It'd be worse than mine. So, and then she went.
Are you sure she just wasn't from UK?
No, she said no. She said she was from London. and she wrestled this other girl who was one of the worst matches. We could get on this table and have a better match right now than these two girls did. But by God, they tried. And they failed, but they tried, and it was funny to watch them miss stuff by like this far.
So where does this fall on the scale with the midget wrestling?
The midgets were better, much better. This is somewhere. It wasn't as bad as the time I saw Santa Claus wrestle down in Ohio, but it was better than that. It was worse. It was number 2 or 3. It was god awful. It was really bad. But the rest of the show was pretty fun. We got to meet Madman Pondo. That was kind of fun.
Is he a kind of a legend?
Yeah, he's sort of a legend. He also runs the promotion, and it was cool. And the match we saw Pondo in, he was taking on the Jugulator, who I guess is a juggalo
ICP.
wrestler.
Were those guys in attendance?
They were not.
Oh, okay.
The ICP would not come to Canal City. But they had a match called an Unlucky 13 match because it was Friday the 13th. And they stapled. You had to staple $7 bills to your opponent to win the match. Yeah, so they were stapled up. I put a picture up on it.
I saw the picture of the ring. The ring looked to be the most nasty surface that's ever been created.
The ring broke during. In fact, it was the boards broke, and so every time they would step in the middle of the ring, it was like hee-haw. You remember the old thing where the board would come out and smack you on the ass? The board would pop up, and I told the photographer, I'm like, hey, I was like, you work for these guys, don't you? She's like, I was like, that board's going to get somebody killed. And she's like, well, I don't really talk to the wrestlers. I just take the pictures. I'm like, all right.
All right.
So finally, Pondo and the Juggler went to work in the ring, and they were making fun of the ring. I'm like, look at this. And they're like, we have to be idiots to actually work in this ring. And he was right. And then after the intermission, they went out and fixed the ring. But it was not a good ring.
Does the ring travel with the circuit, or is the ring erected right there just from whatever's
Probably
around?
a locally owned ring, I would guess. But sometimes they do travel. Then some people just own the ring. I remember seeing these guys wrestling in Huntington, and they were horrible. It's his brothers. And I would ask people, how are these guys getting booked? They're horrible. And they were like, they own the ring. So
interesting.
Sometimes you can just get booked by.
You ever think about opening up your own ring rental service?
I don't have a ring. So no, I never thought of that.
You can store it in the arcade.
No, I can't. There's arcade games in there. Oh, you reminded me of something else I want to talk about. So anyway, it's just wrestling related. Hey, this is wrestling heavy. I was like, this week there were 2 very famous wrestlers that passed away. One was number 1 Paul Jones. Now,
stop. Jimmy Snuka is Dwayne Johnson's uncle?
Yes. Those guys are all like related.
That's crazy.
Guys.
I had no idea.
What's that with number 1 Paul Jones?
Oh, you went like that and it kind of reminded me of the Up on the Ring,
So number 1 Paul Jones was a manager when I was a kid. And I saw him wrestle Jimmy Boogie Woogie Man Valiant in Huntington. And he was at that time he was getting old, but he was a real big star in the 60s. And he was a great manager because he would come out. He was a mid-card manager, and he always had these monsters in his. You would love him. He had guys like the Barbarian and Abdullah and all these freaks. And he'd be out and he'd always want to kill the boogeyman. But I remember he would come out in these bad suits. But for a while he came out dressed like Hitler. Basically, he didn't have the swastika, but he had the brown kind of suit, and he grew a Hitler mustache, and he had his hair parted. But it was like a comedic idiot Hitler. It was I can't explain it, but it was stupid. Sometimes he'd wear a pith helmet. He'd always wear stupid stuff, but I always thought he was amusing. He passed away this week, and then another guy that passed away was Bruno Sammartino. Now he is a big deal. Even if you're not into wrestling, you should know who he is. Bruno lived in Italy during towards the end of the war, the Second World War, and his story is unbelievable. When his town was invaded by Nazis, him and his family moved up into the mountains. Okay, and they had to live up there. And what would happen? And there was nothing to eat. So what would happen is his mom. And what had happened is their dad earlier, like a year earlier, had went to America, and the premise was he was going to go to America and then get arranged for them to be brought over.
Right.
Well, he got over there, and then the Nazis came, so he wasn't even there. He was in America, so it was just the mom and 5 or 6 kids that were up in the mountains. And so Bruno's mom would every couple of days would have to travel down the mountains, and I'm talking like 15, 20-mile hikes, all right? Go back into the town with the Nazis where she would break into her own house and get food and then get back. She got captured one time the kids were waiting. If she didn't come back, the whole family dies. Okay, she stepped out of the back of a Nazi truck and got shot, and just kept going.
Oh my gosh!
And Bruno, I've heard him talk, and his story is unbelievable. He said he was a little kid. He would sit on this pass up in the mountains, and he would just sit there for hours and hours and days, hoping and praying that his mom would appear on that pass to come up the mountain, because they thought she would be killed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could think about how horrible that would be. So it's a real incredible tale. And they survived the war. They came to America. And Bruno, where they'd been up in the mountains, they had been malnourished, was a real small little guy. And he used to get picked on because he had a real thick Italian accent. And so, as the story goes, one day, I don't remember exactly how it happened. He got into like a YMCA or a gym or something and saw some guys lift the weights, and he thought to himself, this is my ticket. I'm going to get some muscles. And so when these guys try to pick on me, every time they beat me up, I'm going to beat them up. Mm-hmm. He ended up becoming a huge Italian powerlifting monster. And eventually got into wrestling and was the longest reigning world champion for the WWF like they've ever had. They'll never be broken. He held it.
What years was that from?
I think it was 63 to 71 or something like that, and then 74 to 78.
How old is the WWF?
Well, this is when it was known as the WWF. He was their second world champion. He wrestled famously. Buddy Rogers was their world champion. Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, another very famous wrestler.
The original Nature Boy.
And that's right. And they said, well, listen, you're going to drop the belt to Bruno, and he didn't want to do it. So Bruno this is a very famous story. Bruno got in the ring with Buddy. He said, listen, Buddy, he goes, I'm going to win the world title tonight. He goes, there's two ways we can do this. We can do it the easy way or the hard way. And Buddy said, let's do it the easy way. And he beat him in like 30 seconds. And Buddy was out of there because he didn't want to, Buddy had an attitude. But Bruno was he sold out Madison Square Garden 184 times. If you think, and this is Madison Square Garden that's still there. No easy task. He's got the record by a long shot of selling out the Garden. He was the biggest draw in wrestling for decades.
It's incredible that I've never heard of him.
Yeah, but Bruno he's a hell of a man. He's from Pittsburgh. His whole family moved to Pittsburgh. They got a statue up there for him. He's a huge deal. So, and if you're not into wrestling, you're like, I'm sick of these guys talking about wrestling. You should Google Bruno and look up his life story, because he's an inspirational dude, and his mom was a true hero, a legitimate hero who's got her family through the war. And his story is really neat. And I think there's a documentary out about him, too. And there's been talk about a full-length feature movie. He's already vetoed a couple before he died because they would want to add a love interest for his mom. And he was like, listen, my dad was over there. She's not going to have how's she going to have a love interest? She's evading Nazis and feeding the family. Man, there's no love interest. And, they're like, oh, that's the way you do it in Hollywood. He's like, that's not the way we're doing it.
Yeah.
He was very, stern, but he's a real sweet guy. And so he'll be missed. He was one of the big, if you have a Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, he's probably number one. That's how big. He's one of the top wrestlers of all time.
It's him and then Abdullah.
No, Abdullah not up there. There's no Rock. There's no Rock face.
I always like having these conversations. So there's 4 faces on Mount Rushmore. Who's on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling?
If you take all of wrestling for all the time.
All of wrestling for all time.
That's tough. That's real tough. I'd say Luthez, Bruno, but then you've got to pick modern guys. So if it was me, and this is controversial, I would probably pick Luthez, Bruno, Hulk Hogan, and Ric Flair would probably be the guys.
Who was the first guy? Luthez?
Luthez. Luthez was the NWA champion in the 50s, and legit shooter, mess you up. And he was champion forever in the NWA. In the old days of wrestling, you never knew when you were going to get double-crossed. And so a lot of the world champions were legitimate legitimate shoot fighter types.
I don't know what that means.
They knew actual holds that could actually hurt or maim you.
Oh.
Shooters is what they were called. You would equate them to a modern-day MMA guy.
Okay.
That's like if I said, I want my world champion to be a guy that can handle himself, so I'm going to get I don't know, Brock Lesnar, for example, because he's a guy that could legitimately fight.
Yeah.
In the old days, occasionally, some guy would be like, I'm winning the title tonight, and it would just go against the promoter, or I refuse to lose the title.
Oh,
and
wow.
So,
So at that point, it becomes real.
most promoters had a shooter or two in their arsenal. And so these are guys that you would not screw with, right? And Luthez is a guy you absolutely wouldn't screw with. Harley Race is a guy you wouldn't screw with. He's another guy that you would not want to mess around with. And there were others. But I would but Luthez was very influential in all of wrestling. But I would put Bruno, probably Luthez number 1, Bruno 2, and then Rick and Hulk Hogan. You could make an argument that like a Rock or a Stone Cold should be on there, and I wouldn't fight you. But longevity's part of it, and you're talking about guys that were around for a lot longer than. I mean, Stone Cold was around for a long time, but his drawing years were not super long. These are guys that drew for decades.
Yeah, that I agree with that.
So, do you agree with me, Bode, on that?
I'm with you.
God knows who'd be on your Mount Rushmore: Zeus, Abdullah,
that cat guy from the UK.
The cat guy. Oh my God.
Have you watched the Andre documentary yet?
I've not got to see it yet. I've been very busy. Last week I was just gone all weekend, so I'm hoping to take some time this weekend and relax and have some fun.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
And we're off to a great start with a 4-hour car trip and so. Well, let's call it a night.
All right, we'll see you next time, guys. Adios.
I know people get sick of hearing me talk about wrestling.
No, they don't. They love it.
Well, Bruno really is a big deal. You're right. Bye, guys.
Good night, guys.
Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, thanks for staying up so late.
I'm terribly sorry it took me so long to get here, guys. It sucked. But I appreciate you guys hanging out.
Yeah.
We'll try to get a proper, quicker one on next time, guys. Some